Here on Wales Online, Nathan and Steve in the studio to pick through the wreckage of what was a pretty shocking South Wales derby defeat for Cardiff City on the weekend. Been a tough morning for Cardiff City fans everywhere. Oh. I would imagine. I know you boys have had a bit of stick in the last half an hour in the office downstairs with some of our Swansea-based colleagues.
I never knew there were so many Jacks in the building. I wasn't aware of that until I came in this morning, and everybody's. They weren't so effusive in November, were they, John? They were very quiet.
Very quiet in November, but very loud this morning, and understandably so. Nathan, what did you make of the game? Where did it all go wrong?
We're going to talk about the derby.
Right.
I just thought we might try and
2 minutes onto the derby.
Oh, okay, okay, come on then.
What did I think about it? As a game, as a game from our point of view, our perspective, it was a pretty poor showing. For 90 minutes, I thought. I mean, me and Touch were talking earlier. He said after like 20 minutes you felt maybe, but I only felt basically they lost the first half, and if they didn't start better in the second half, it was going to be a long day for them, and they didn't start no better. Swansea started better in the second half again, and it proved to be the case. It was a long afternoon, you know, a long evening.
I mean, they started slowly again. I mean, early on, you actually feared. I think Swansea, they'd had that tough week, and obviously with Laudrup, and I think Swansea came out of the blocks in front of their own fans, going for it. And you feared for Cardiff a little, but I mean, people have been really harsh on Cardiff, and I can understand it. It let a lot of people down, a lot of disappointed fans, etc. They grew into the first half. They had a few decent little half chances in the first half. They weathered the storm. They hung in there, but that's where the positives end, I think, because then, as you said, you were thinking, well, they're going to have to step it up the second half. In fact, they did the opposite of that. They conceded within 90 seconds.
And you listen, it's a derby, the derby, and arguably the biggest ever derby. You know, it's a minimum ask that you apply yourself and, you know, try and keep things to a
it was the manner of
minimum.
It.
Well, that's what I mean. It was like we approached it like, from the outside looking in, it didn't look like it was the most important derby that's ever been there.
They surrendered very meekly in the end. I mean, trying to put a positive spin on it, they went the goal down. Bellamy, who, be fair, was one of the few players I thought who showed a bit of kind of like passion.
Well, he always does. He just can't.
I mean, he plays like that. But he hit the bar then, and Vaughan well beaten. You could if you. I don't know why I'm being so positive. It's not usual, but you could argue if that goes in. Different game?
That old
3-1?
That old cliche.
It would have been slightly different, I think, because they're back to 1-1, they're pegged back.
My grandmother was my grandfather.
There might have been some doubts, but no. I think, like everybody else, I got to agree. And I think the thing that perplexed a lot of people was, and something we were talking about earlier, was Solskjaer's selection.
Let me come on with some comments. Lots of comments about the team selection, and a bit of an update actually, because there's a Cardiff City press conference currently happening. I'll give you the comments first from John, who says Ollie got it wrong, simple as that. Without question, Noon and Much are our most creative players and should have been on the pitch from the start. But let's not dwell on it. It's time to move on and pick up results. He says, another one from Wayne, who says, I thought Kenwyne Jones was a bit lazy on the weekend.
But that's what he played. That's what he's like.
Dan says dropping Noon was the worst mistake Ollie has made this weekend. I don't think he played our strongest team. Carl saying totally wrong side picked on Saturday. Similar things, Much and Noon should have been in there. Campbell as well. People like to see starting. I mean,
okay, so
did he get it completely wrong? I must just add that Solskjaer has just said that Craig Noon had a bit of an injury, which was why he was on the bench, and his reasons for not picking George and Much are Craig was struggling with a slight injury. and we had to look after him. Then. I think he will be available to face Villa, but he needs a rest. And he says about Jordan Much, I left Jordan out because I wanted to play Craig up top with Kenwyn, and I thought Craig was our top performer on Saturday. So they're the reasons.
The problem is, if you put Noon on the bench, people think he's fit, and Ollie's going to know that as an ex-player. You know that better than anybody. You know, if it goes pear-shaped, people are going to ask questions. You can't turn around and then start saying, well, the player wasn't fit, because then you say, well, why did you put him on the bench?
Exactly.
Because you're going to, you know, that's the type of player you're contradicting yourself. You know, that is a contradiction in itself. So me and Tux were talking earlier, and I just went for a team. This was the kind of team I would have gone for. Marshall in goal, McNaughton at right back. If Catherine would fit, he would have played right back, and McNaughton would have played left.
Theophile is injured.
Theophile injured, and then we've got Taylor who's injured. So we had Fabio at left back, McNaughton at right back, Colker in turn, and then we had Medal and Gunnarsson holding, right? Give us some strength and solidity in the midfield. Noon one side, Bellamy the other side, Much in behind Jones. And then Tuck said, what about Zaha? And I said, I would have stuck with bringing Zaha on for the last 20 minutes as an impact. That's where I think the game could have been won and lost. If you could have kept the clean sheet for 60-odd minutes, then you put your plan B into motion, which would have been, for me, bringing Zaha on, taking Jones off, and making Campbell do what he done to him at home, and I was just running behind, because I know Williams and Flores, they're not the paciest, and that's the last thing they're going to want to be doing, is turning back to their own goal. So for me,
leaving the Zaha on the bench there, isn't that a little bit like the glory of hindsight, though? Because if after the Norwich game everybody agrees, oh, Zaha came on, he changed the game, look at him, he's an excitement. So if Solskjaer had then got into the derby and said, right, I'm putting Zaha back on the bench, I think a lot of people would have been like, wow, he was our best player against Norwich.
But Zaha, you're talking against Norwich, and you're talking in where there's no real pressure, you know, and no matter what anyone says, he wasn't match fit against Norwich. You don't look at him and think, oh, he's match fit. So to me, you've got to look at the whole situation holistically and think to yourself, right, am I better starting with him, or am I better having him 20 minutes going hammer and tong at someone where I know he's not going to run out of steam, especially when the defence is last, because you've got to have a plan.
I do agree with, I do agree with you.
So for me, I would have started with Bellamy on the left and Much in behind Jones, and then used Campbell and Zaha almost as my weapon to try and get that goal if we hadn't already got one. That would have been my target.
You get to 70 minutes.
Yeah, and then play my couple of jokers, which I think would have given us a better chance of winning the game. But I, for the life of me, I can't understand, I was saying to Tux earlier, the Whittingham one, because Much played left side last week, right, which was an imbalance. So you took Whittingham off, who was playing centrally, moved Much into the centre, and then put Zaha on, which gave you a better balance. And then this week, Much is on the bench, Witts is back in, and Zaha's on the left. That, to me, was just like extraordinary. It was like, I don't quite understand that one.
It was a big surprise to see Whittingham playing, really, from
it was a complete shock to me.
Did you think he picked him partly because of everything that happened when he took him off, and he thought, if I don't pick this boy, that's him gone?
Well, I don't want to think that, but I said that to you earlier, didn't I, Blakey? That Whittingham, you know, after all the fuss of him being booed when he went off, or cheers when he was in that almost he was kind of like protecting the player by saying, no, you're back in the side, you know, and playing for that.
But that's sentiment then coming into it.
I know, I hope that's not correct.
That, you know, if that's the case, that, as when I say, I might sound cruel when I say this, but there's very little room for sentiment in football. What you got to be, all you got to be thinking about Saturday is the result, who we're playing, and what it means to everybody. Simple as. I got no room for sentiment. I got no room. I just want to make sure, worst case scenario, I don't lose the game. That is it.
I think what will have hurt the fans the most is we said, they looked very meek and mild. There was no, outside of Bellamy maybe and Medel, you could say, they've got no real fire in there.
Well, you know, Bellas is that way inclined anyway. You know what I mean? You know, he's a dud, but he'll have a fight with a tiger. That's Bellas. Medal is a very similar sort of character. He'll have But you don't get that from Wits and you don't get that from Kim. In a derby match,
I'm not expecting them to go flying in, but I'm expecting throughout the side, I'm expecting, and this might come back to Solskjaer again, I'm expecting a Cardiff side going for a historic double at the Liberty Stadium, fighting for their lives in the Premier League against someone they could have drawn level with on points then. I expect them to go out with a bit of fire in there, irrespective of whether it's Whittingham, Declan John, Bellamy, or whatever. Listen, and they were lacking that.
You know what's
coming. They were meek and mild, and that's the problem.
You know what's coming. As a player, you and the manager and the coaching staff, right? They've sacked Laudrup. They're going to be right up for this. Who have they put in charge? Their ex-captain, Gary Monk, club captain, if you like. He's going to get them riled for this. So you know, no matter what, you're going into the Lions' Den and it's going to be a battle royal. Simple as. Chances of you being able to... It's not like we started and the game started and they just got on top of us. We started poorly again.
That's been a symptom of all of Solskjaer's.
Right. We started so slowly, so poorly. It's like... This is one game where you, as a player, no matter what the manager, and I can't hold the manager responsible, totally. In part, yes, because he's the one who drives the motivational side of the team. But as a player, individually, you know, you just... you say it to each other as you're going out, right? You know,
well, you say that. You some of you are like possessed. I spoke to Ashley Williams after, and Gary Monk in the week before gave them all a copy of The Rise and Fall of Swansea City, a documentary that showed, you know, when they almost went out the league, how they fought back up. That gave it to every player and said, "Go home and watch that. That's what you're fighting for. That's what this club is all about." You know, you say it's not down to the manager, but he instilled that passion in them, and whether that's right or not,
no, it is.
You could see by the way
it is down to the manager in part. What I'm saying is, as a player, you have a responsibility as well. And when it's a derby match, you don't really like. Okay, it's not going to affect. It's not going to be the same for all players, but from my perspective, I didn't need anyone telling me how important this game was. I didn't need someone to fire me up. I didn't need something to happen.
Well, I think they did. I think looking at the Cardiff players, I think a few of them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't understand that.
Well, no, exactly. But you know, I think that is my point. I think the problem is a lot. If that's lacking, it shouldn't be. But if it is, it has to come from the manager, the drive. Staff. Yeah. And to me, it didn't look like that happened.
It's the sort of situation that you talk about for weeks before it happens.
You know what the derby was all about.
It builds up over weeks in training. Things are said, little things by the manager and the coaches. Oh, you're going to let Swansea, you're going to let, you know, so-and-so Ashley Williams get away with that. Are you Ken Wynn? Or you're going to let so-and-so get away with that. Are you know, Witt? So, and, you know, it just builds to a crescendo. And you just make sure you start well. For me, like I said, Routledge had a shot within the first minute. From then on, the momentum was in Swansea's favour and they just overran us.
Let's have. I mean, there's a stream of comments here around the manager, particularly, and what you're talking maybe about passion. Bring Back Blue saying the reason we started poorly, and we always start poorly, is because the players are confused about how they're supposed to be playing.
I'd agree with that.
Carl says these players keep coming out with "we're going to do this, we're going to do that." Far too many of them can talk the talk but can't walk the walk. Another one: we have lost the one thing we had going for us, passion. Another one from Steve. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is far too naive to manage at this level. Malky was negative maybe, but at least we didn't leak goals week in, week out. Plenty more to come. Bear with me.
They might have lost there under Malky, but they wouldn't have lost in that fashion.
Another one from J Guy. Never mind team selection, we lacked a game plan on Saturday.
Correct.
Plain and simple. We're never going to beat Swansea playing football. We needed the likes of Jones, Medell and Much to get stuck in and make life difficult. Much didn't even play. Jones didn't fancy it. And we just let them dictate play. Ollie, naive, again that word there, needs a steady hand alongside him. He suggests Ollie got it wrong. Another one from Johnny there, wrong team, wrong manager, wrong division. We're an average championship team trying to play in the Premier League. Another one, the players appear to be confused with the old system and the new one we want to play. Games are running out fast, time is not on our side. And they do hit the nail on the head. They haven't. We talked about that Gary Monk effect, that, you know, first game, new manager, which you often see. Boom. Cardiff just haven't had that, and they do look confused. 7 new players.
Here's our problem, right? We've got as a club, right? you've got all these directors who've been involved over the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? You've got the new owner coming in. We have got, I'm telling you now, as a club, no basic philosophy. So what's happening is, you get a new manager in, he brings what he believes, rather than fits into what the club believes. He brings what he believes. He then gets sacked, leaves, whatever. New manager comes in. Now, you're looking at Ollie's philosophy and you're saying, okay, well, what is it then? Can't just say it's like we're going to attack more. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
so on top of that, now you've got Malky's signings, now coupled with a few new signings who Ollie's brought in. Since Ollie's been in, he's not played the same 11. You've had a change at the centre-back partnership 2 or 3 times. You've got a change at the midfield partnership 2 or 3 times. You've now got a mix and match situation. You've now got another centre-half he's brought in, which will probably go in alongside Colker again. So at no point are you finding any sort of continuity, any sort of consistency. If you look at someone like, I made this point to Tux earlier, if you look at someone like Sunderland and Gus Poyet, what he's done, he's never managed in the Premiership before. But what he's done, he's come in and said, right, I'm going to stick with these players, these 13, 14 players. Around the outsides, the other subs may change, may not. But these are my 13, 14 players, and this is how we're going to play. And it might get worse before it gets better, but I believe in my philosophy, and it will get better. And it's proved the case. Okay, they lost Saturday, but that's proved the case. For us, what I think we're doing is almost like a dog chasing its tail, or, you know, closing the gate after the horse is bolted. We'll change it to this now, but that game's gone. Okay, we'll change it to this now. That game's gone. And we're not ahead of the game. We're chasing rather than.
We looked upon it as a virtue that the new manager came in at the start of the transfer window. But in a way,
it's a nightmare.
It wasn't, was it? Because he doesn't know what he's got there anyway to build on. So he brings a load more of players in, as he had 7 or whatever. Now he's got the double whammy of trying to familiarise himself with the players that were there, and these new guys somehow meld them all together, find the best 11, and carry out a relegation fight at the same time. It's a tall order. You have to sympathise with Solskjaer, because let's face it,
you do and you don't. You do and you don't. In the sense that
no one made too many signings.
No, exactly. No one made him make those signings.
No, I'm not saying that.
Do you know what I mean? And what you have to do as a manager, first and foremost, you have before he took the job, he got to know what his best 11 to 16 are. Then he's got to know that. You don't just take the job. It was well documented that they were interested in him and all that. So you go, when they come knocking on my door, I say, okay, what have you got? Let's have a look at their players. Let's watch a few games. Can I work with that? Can I apply my philosophy to that? Yes, I can. Okay, you might need, right, in my opinion, we need a striker, a tough tackling, solid, ball playing midfielder, and a centre half. Okay, that's it. Everything else is fitted in. Right, and the 3 players I bring in, Catamol is going to sit in midfield. Yeah, Sunderland don't want him, we'll have him, Catamol. That's exactly what we need. Or a Palacios from Stoke. Sit in midfield, bang. He can ball play and he can ball win. That's what I need. Alongside Medal, right, great. So my plan is already in motion before I've even signed on the dotted line. Do you understand what I mean?
We're talking about no structure.
And we are a club, to me, we are a club up in the air. We have been all season.
It's quite obvious that wasn't in the case, because we from the comments we're getting here, naive, no game plan, people changing week in, week out, controversial team selections. That's quite obviously a sign. Of somebody trying to do it as it goes along, and
like I said, and chasing your tail.
And on Saturday,
always
miserably.
Always one step behind instead of one step in front. We're always trying to catch, rather than having our plan, having our philosophy, and saying, right, let me put that into play, get to the other side, get a result. Right, now I'll move on, thinking about the next game. This is what I've been planning for. It's not. We're like. And at the moment, we're in a spiral. Progress. All we're going to do is just
gradual progress, but we're not seeing it at the moment.
And look, you know, this bounce back ability, I haven't seen it so far, you know, and I ain't looking and I ain't feeling confident that, you know.
But people, it's only anecdotal, but people are starting to edge towards, Fulham, Cardiff, probably gone.
It is that, you know, what I say to you at the start of the season. Soon as the press get onto it and they start talking about, you know, early on in the season it was, Cardiff would be okay. Now it's Fulham, Cardiff and another.
I mean, the talk for this Villa game, which we'll come on to in more detail as we go along tomorrow night, but another huge 6, 12, 24 pointer. That there will be more, you know, there will be lots of changes again to the team. This Juan Carla, who they've now signed, the dodgy whatever.
Don't know what you're suggesting.
I mean, okay, so say he comes
another
in.
change.
That's another change.
That's a new centre-half partnership.
Is Kim going to stay in? Is Witts going to stay in? Is Zaha going to be able to go again for 90 minutes? Do you know what I mean? You're probably going to have 3 or 4 changes again. And to me, that's part of the problem. Part of the problem. We've got, you know, regardless, you've got to get a settled team ASAP. That's one thing. As a player, you know, and he would know better than anyone, Ollie, because look at his goal scoring record, and no matter what, he came off the bench 9 times out of 10. So it wasn't like the manager said, okay, you've scored so much, okay, I'm going to start with you. No, I've got my starting 11. You're my impact player. So he knows better than most about that. Do you know what I mean? I just think at the moment, everything, we're one step behind, and
we're reacting. If you look at, aren't we? We're reacting.
Correct.
We're not proactive. And
correct.
And if you look, problem.
what happened with, and it's only one game for Swans. You know, don't get carried away. Their season, I think, will improve, but you know, it's not guaranteed after that result. That result it takes care of itself, the passion and everything, because of the derby match. But you know, the difference with Swansea is they're able to fall back on their philosophy every time. They're able to say, okay then, right, we don't sack managers, but we're going to get rid of this one and we're just going to let Gary Monk take over, because he doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. All he applies is what he's been taught and what he's learned over the last 10 years at the club.
Hugh Jenkins in his programme notes that he used in Interest of Fate, something like, talking about decision to get rid of Loudon, and he said we felt that the Swansea philosophy was in danger of becoming eroded.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we had to act. And that was problem? Quite telling, I think.
When players complain about a lack of training, you as a manager are finished. It's as simple as that. Players never complain about a lack of training, or very rarely. And when they do, you know that you can't mug them off. Yeah, players know when they're doing too much, and they know when they're not doing enough. Simple as that. If you're not doing enough, you blow up after 60 minutes, and you don't start fast, and you can't keep a high tempo up in the game. If you're doing too much, you're going into the game, legs like jelly, fatigued. You know, the same as the fans though. Coming out and saying things after the game, you see it with David Moyes at the moment, you're not going to mug anyone off. These guys have been coming to the game since they were 2 or 3 years old. They know, 99.9% of the fans know team selection was wrong.
So we talked about lots of whys and wherefores, their team selection, tactics, the confusion. What about this from Jamie, who just says, we're simply just not good enough? When it comes down to it, other players, even with the new signings, are Cardiff just not good enough? Are there 3 worse teams than Cardiff in this league?
Do you know what? I think there's probably 6 or 7 teams, yeah? It's not a case of 3 worse teams, because you've got to understand things like, when you're on a run, your confidence is here. When you're on a bad run, your confidence is here. So if you look at Sunderland, you would have said 2 months ago, they're definitely down. Palace, they're definitely down. Now what happens is the manager comes in with a good philosophy, sticks to his own brand, and all of a sudden people buy into it, win 1 or 2 games, and your confidence starts to
You're going to tell me Palace, pound for pound, have got more quality than Cardiff? No. No chance. I mean, they've just signed Joe Ledley. I mean, no offence to Joe. I like Joe. I think he's a good player. But I mean, you're not saying Gary Medell.
I think, and this goes to both regimes, I think money could have been better utilised in signings. I've said on the show before, you don't get all your signings right.
He spent a lot.
You don't get all your signings right, but I think we have wasted. There's a few players we've brought in who've never been utilised then. And that to me is kind of Criminal, really.
Did you see Cornelius
scored a hat-trick on the weekend for Copenhagen?
Went back to Copenhagen and scored a hat-trick. I still say he could have come good.
Get him back.
Nobody would listen to me. I still say. But, I mean, people were talking... I mean, when you say that, it's a nod at Mackay. Obviously, you say money has been spent unwisely.
No.
Like
now. Like, I think the
not... Like, I think, well... spent anything, has he?
Well,
we don't even know
it doesn't matter how much...
guys are commanding.
I'm saying I'm not talking about the size of the fee. I'm saying whether you think the players that have been selected are capable to play in the league we're in.
Right, but I do think Mackay. I mean, I think Mackay has been unfairly vilified in respect, in retrospect. For what? For Cornelius? For a bad signing? I don't think that was such a terrible. You know, it was a gamble that didn't come off. But I don't think that was a... I mean, the way it's been looked at now, it's some kind of earth-shattering disaster.
No, it was. You know, you can't pay £9 million for someone and say it's a chance. You go into the Premier League.
The future.
You know, you can't do that. You know, you've got to be... Listen, there's no guarantees that an experience, tried and tested, is going to come and score you 10, 15, 20 goals. But spending that kind of money on someone who is known and been there, seen it, done it, gives you a better opportunity to get 15, 20 goals than an unknown, and then saying, and I'm not only talking about Markey, I'm talking about the players that have been signed in the transfer window just past. I don't know, looking at the 3 Norwegian lads, Premier League, I think they'll struggle. I really do. I don't look and go, very good Premier League standard player that is. You know, we've signed. Listen, I might be wrong. In 2-3 months' time, Ericsson or whoever might turn out to be, you know, one of the world's best. But there's nothing in the game I've seen in the Bolton game and the other games to say you've nicked a great player.
This Darley kid looks good, but just he looks like a kid.
Well, he does. He looks particularly young, doesn't he? But, well, I mean, they have to go to them. I mean,
he's tricky.
I he was a
child. Do you know what he reminds me of, Darley? He's tricky, but he reminds me of like Burke. He's not got explosive pace. He's tricky, good player, but I would actually say Berkey was one of my favourite players at Cardiff. I think someone like Burke is probably a bit better player than he is.
He's more experienced, isn't he? And he's more
experience counts for a lot.
But there's quite a lot of comments today, and I'll give you 2. The most recent ones here. We were talking about Crystal Palace. Carl saying Palace players will roll their sleeves up and fight. That is the difference. And one from Kim who says Ollie has done nothing wrong. The team lack effort and commitment. Just look at the way Bellamy was playing. If everybody was getting stuck in and fighting like that, then it would be a difference. But I mean, certainly the whole ethos of the Mackay regime. I can't remember even one game where anybody would ever have put that at the Cardiff City players. No effort, no commitment.
Mackay always used to say, didn't he? The fans will.
Why have they lost that under a new manager who is a popular guy? You know, seems like a good talker, sort of inspirational figure in football.
To me, they've gone from one extreme to the other. They've gone being ultra defensive, solid, tight, to now being
defensively
more expansive, but not scoring goals, but not as tight defensively. So I think if you read into some of Ollie's comments, you can tell he wanted to move the team forward into a more offensive style, attacking, exciting, playing philosophy, if you like. But it hasn't really worked.
You think that Mackay wanted to play like that?
I said, listen,
to play like that. It's just that he recognised we can't play like that because we're going to get punished. Is exactly what happened this weekend.
First year in the Premier League, you are going to have to consolidate. He said we're going to have to
scrap it out and fight it. Yeah. And look at the difference. Every one of those goals on Saturday was down to a defensive mistake.
Listen, I don't think we could have carried on in the same vein under Malky Mind. I don't think we had the legs in the team to be able to say, just keep on this defensive. You know, I used to say to you, we will move on gradually.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. But what was happening? Maybe hindsight. We don't know. But to me, what was happening is we were starting to run out of energy in November. Do you know what I mean? Which isn't a good sign.
Well, November, I mean.
Do you know what I mean? Isn't a good sign. But you know, hey.
Hey man, why are we dwelling on the past now? I said this show was going to be really positive, and it's like
we'll start edging towards
now.
Villa. Let me
go on then.
Let's look.
Come on, Dolly, out with it.
Let's look at the Premier League table at this juncture then.
Cardiff City.
Apologies for that. Yeah, Cardiff City in 19th position on 21 points. Sunderland just above the relegation on 17th with 24. So 3 points off safety.
They've got better goal difference
at the minute.
As well,
which
is worth a point.
Goal difference issues there. And then let's now look at these fixtures coming up. We'll take the Wigan FA Cup game out of there on Saturday. Villa at home Tuesday night. Hull City at home on Saturday 22nd of February. After that, you're looking at away matches, Tottenham and Everton coming up. There is a home game against Fulham to come. But if I was to say to you, Cardiff, don't win these next 2 home games, Villa and Hull City, or dare we even say they lose one, you know, is that it?
Listen, it's never it, because Cardiff could go in March and beat Tottenham away, beat Fulham at home, beat Everton at home, beat Liverpool at home, and beat West Brom away. But
and then Blakey woke up.
Well, it's strangest things have happened, but it's highly unlikely. What you've got to go on is the form that you're in, the form that the opposition are in or have been in. But even then, you know, what happens? Liverpool, Arsenal. You're thinking, "Whoa, what a game this is going to be! 1-1, 2-2, maybe, or whatever." Bang! Liverpool slap Arsenal all over the place, sat top of the table, and then get embarrassed. So it can happen, but the chances of us going on a run, you know, you're looking at then Kenwyn, Fraser, Bellas, Nooney, Kim, whoever, they're going to have to score 10 goals to probably win those games, 15 goals.
Most teams do have a run at some stage, and Cardiff haven't had theirs yet, so you remain hopeful.
But now you don't have a run when your confidence is low. It's very difficult. You have to, first of all, you have to get up and start getting, like Sunderland done. They picked up a win, loss, draw, win. Sort of, you can't. It kind of happens over like a 5-6 game period. Do you know what I mean? And that's my worry, because it's 13 games. Is it?
They've got the game. Looking at they've got the games in there to do it. Whether they can do it, they've got the fixtures.
Well,
in,
the April
fixtures,
Palace,
and
Southampton,
like
Stoke, Sunderland.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they're still in striking distance in April, you know, so they're a point off safety, it's still doable. It's still doable. But they're going to have to. Solskjaer's going to have to get a grip on it.
6 away, 7 home games. 7 home games, 6 away games, and in those games you got at home you got Chelsea, Stoke, Palace, Liverpool, Fulham, Hull, and Villa. So if I said to you, Villa, Hull, Fulham, Palace, and Stoke, if you said, right...
I know, but no, I don't think they will win them, because the same as West Ham. You know, they should have... West Ham, they were on... You know,
what's our problem been?
Lose at West Ham.
What's our problem been? We can perform against Man United, we can perform against Manchester City, but when it comes to the crunch, against the teams in the lower half, we've only beaten Norwich. And that was a game we shouldn't have won.
Yeah. And look at the derby. They entered the derby on Saturday, you know, with Swansea disarray, you know, manager sacked the week before.
I know. Right. If you looking at Swansea on Saturday, if we started on the blocks, we started out the blocks first and foremost, and actually turned around that situation to our advantage and against Swansea. 20-30 minutes into the game, their fans, and we've had 2 or 3 efforts on their goal, and we got a bit of sustained pressure. Their fans, all of a sudden, the Gary Monk thing doesn't look like such a great idea. Do you understand what I mean? So Swansea used everything to their advantage, and we kind of not gave it to them, but we didn't
do ourselves any favours.
No, we didn't, and we didn't counter.
And they gave him the perfect. They gave him the perfect. They responded perfectly to the sacking and the new guy and everything. They were. I mean, I mean, seasoned Swansea City watchers said that's as good as they played in a long time. You know, so
well, they had tempo back in their game, which is what I've been saying they haven't had for a long time.
Yeah, they went back to their roots, didn't they? With sort of Leon Britton there as well.
Yeah,
directing things. Let me give you some of these comments. This is a good one. I particularly like the first few words from Christian, who says, "You are right, Doley. We need to win the next 2 games or it's over. The fat lady will be sinning." Steve Williams says, "I can't see where the points are going to come from. Villa won't be easy and Hull will be very tough. We are poor at home and with the pressure building, it's only going to get worse.
I hope I'm wrong." You saw Fulham at Old Trafford.
God, he's terrible for
Sorry,
that.
man.
He's terrible.
Go on, get on with it.
Likes the sound of his own voice. I don't know. Bluebird John says, "Our fans are deluded at the moment. We are the second worst team in the league. Get real. Sorry, Bluebird. 4 points out of the next 5 games. That's all we will get. And finally, come on, boys. We're gone. Time to accept it and move on." So, people down in the dumps today.
I think
listen, lost the derby or something.
The problem is, I don't even think it's because you lost the derby. I think it's like I say, you can't mug the fans off, right? They
can see the confusion.
You've been watching. Listen, you've been watching this club since you were 2 or 3 years old. You've always seen Cardiff go through. I can't remember a comfortable, straightforward period of, say, a decade. Cardiff. It's always been like,
I thought you were going to say season then. I can't think of a season.
But you know, we've had good seasons in different seasons, but then it always seems to be a problem at boardroom level. For as long as I can remember, there's always seems to be a problem with where is the owner, where is the board, whether the manager, whether this. It's never been straight. You look at like Rick Wright, went in, pulled out quick. Before that, Clemo, you know, the Kumars, you know, you've never had just a good, well-run football club then. You know, I'm not saying we're poorly run now, but it's so much up in the air. It's just like fans are just tired. You just want to just, you know, even if we go down, at least we've got a model that, okay, well, we feel safe, secure, and we can go down and we can bounce back. Because that's not unusual. Teams that get promoted go down, come up, go down a couple of times before they get a sustainable model in the Premier League. But you just don't feel that's us. I just don't feel that's us.
I do just wonder now, I mean, when the transition from Mackay, sorry to hark on about Mackay, but the transition from Mackay to Solskjaer, there was suddenly a lot of people going, great, this is it, you know, here we go, it needed to be done. I just wonder how many supporters out there now think the change of manager was a good idea right now. I think there's a lot of people. Well, I think there's a lot of people looking back, thinking. They might come this season. We might look back on this season and look at that moment and think that was the moment we lost. It was when we changed.
I mean, lots of people are saying Solskjaer doesn't seem to be the answer. Justin's reply to that is, "Don't forget we lost our last game under Malky 3-0 at home to Southampton in an equally gutless display. I also recall the Palace lost, Aston Villa and stalemate versus Norwich." I suppose there's an argument of how much and for how long Mackay was being undermined there.
Oh, crikey, I mean, by the time of the Sunderland thing, I mean, the guy was like a walking, you know, the walking dead, you know. I mean, how many more times could he say, you know, it's not going to affect us, when obviously it could, and the players. I mean, the guy was working under intolerable circumstances. But, I mean, let's get to the point now where that's done. But Solskjaer now is going to have to get a grip on things. He's going to have to find what he thinks is his best side and get some continuity going. Otherwise, these games coming up, they're just going to run out of games, faffing around.
My worry is Hull are a very good team.
Oh, crikey,
and made some great signings. You know, 2 boys from Tottenham sat in the middle of the midfield. The boy from Birmingham, I thought we should have gone after, centre back. And the 2 strikers they've just bought up front. You know, it's like, it's not rocket science. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's, you know, them at home, that's a bigger game for us than it is for them. And I think Villa as well. They can't handle playing.
There's nothing easy.
Villa can't play at home at the moment because their confidence is shot. They want to play away from home. So they're coming away from home and tearing teams up. Look what they done to Liverpool the other day. They're coming and really putting teams to the sword. So my worry is, by the end of this month, I said this month, December, January is difficult, and I thought this month was another great opportunity for us to pick up like 6, maybe 9 points. By the end of this month, if you come out with 3 points, going into March, April, I just don't see where the results come from, to be honest with you. I don't see us picking up 6 wins 5 or 6
This is
weeks.
The pivotal moment.
This is the week then. This is the fortnight, yeah?
This is it. This is in February.
Villa
For me,
and
February has been the month, because you look at March. You start with Tottenham. You've got Fulham at home, Everton away, Liverpool at home, West Brom away. You know
I think they've got to come out of this month with 9 points. They've got 3 already, but they've got to come out of this. They've got that, which I'm basically saying they've got to win the next 2. Otherwise, I just like same as Blakey. I just don't see where the points will come from.
That's the problem. You know, people go, oh yeah, you know, people are say, oh, you're being negative, and you know, we're still like coming to the start of the match, or we still got like 10 games to go. That's X amount of points.
Mate, as I was just saying when you said I like the sound of this, I refer you to Fulham at Old Trafford yesterday if you want to see how hard it is. You know, Fulham at bottom, they're beneath us, they're coming. They gave, they got a point, gave them the fright to their lives. All right, you'd say Man U or they're suffering, but
you still got to get
they're going to come to Cardiff and they're going to be, and that is the other problem that we're having as well. Nobody's detached, are they? Earlier in the season, as we say, people were looking at Sunderland, looking at, oh, it'll be 1 from 3 by then.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Look at Saturday. Everybody, with the exception of Sunderland, who lost to Hull, are picking up points here and there. Nobody's dropping away. It's a scramble. It's going to go all the way to the line. And have Cardiff got the bottle for it?
We have got to start picking up,
Got to get back-to-back wins
and a
now.
win. Yeah, we've got to have like a win. If you beat Villa and beat Hull, you're going into the match in a totally different frame of mind. If you lose those 2 games and then you're going to Tottenham, start the match.
Well, that's what I mean. It comes down to these 2 games, doesn't it? These 2
if you lost to Villa and you got a draw against Hull, forget it.
You go along with that?
That's 4 points in February. I don't think that's enough.
Never forget it. I never write it off.
I'm not writing
but I just
it
don't
off.
see how we get. I don't look at Liverpool. I don't look at Everton. I don't look at Tottenham in March. There's 3 games that we'll win. Might get a point from one of them, but I don't see them as games we'll win. Fulham at home and West Brom away. West Brom are going to be fighting for their lives. That's going to be a difficult game going up there. Hawthorns always is, no matter what. And Fulham at home, it's a 12-pointer, isn't it? I mean, whoever comes out, and our record against the teams around us isn't great this season. So I don't know, mate. You want to be positive, and I'm always trying to be, glass half full rather than half empty kind of person. But experience, just looking at there, I think it's an uphill battle, mate. It's a real difficult task.
Yeah.
Let's talk Villa then in a little more detail. Let's talk team selection. Lots of people asking what your team would be. Mark kicking us off with his, perhaps, who says he would play a 5-2-1-2 formation with Marshall, Corker, Medell, Carla and Theophile and Fabio in the defence, assuming fitness on all those. Much, Gunnison, Bellamy, Campbell, Jones is his. What would your what changes need to be made? I mean, do you go with these Norwegians?
We spoke a bit about the Fabio factor, and I mean, personally, I he's looked culpable for 2 goals. He looks very fragile.
Similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Sorry to cut you, but the point I made to you earlier, the point I made to Tux earlier, is he's been done on the inside against Norwich. I thought it was West Ham, but it was Norwich, and on Saturday. But then anyone watching the game, right, I'll tell you this now, anyone watch that game Saturday, go back, watch it again, and watch what happens when McNaughton comes on. There's an incident where McNaughton's on, and they want to play that ball exactly the same in between McNaughton and Colker, right? And McNaughton, he retracts back and to his left, so he closes that gap off. And by the time he's on the edge of the 8-yard box, they can't play it through because he's literally next to Colker. That's experience.
Well, they say guiding him, putting them down the outside,
the ball has to go outside. And to me, like I always say, attention to detail. I get frustrated because now I would watch that and highlight that massively to Fabio and Colker and Turner and Declan. It's not just one person learns from it. As a defence, you all watch that. Right, that's how, right, let's get out on the training ground. Let's make it. So that ball inside Fabio can't be happening 2 weeks after it's happened. It can't be conceding the same sort of goal. You know, you might say, okay, in second division or League One or something like that, but this is Premier League. Got to learn fast, mate. You know what I mean? It's frustrating.
I want to see Theophile fit. I hope he's fit. Declan John. I mean, obviously for the second goal, he's quite obviously blamed. He said it, not attacking the ball, you know, and all that. Declan John, to me, I mean, I like the kid. I think he's got a big future, but he's 18. He's learning now. I don't like him learning
now. There's too much learning.
I was going to say, what a time to learn. It's like in the middle of this.
What a place to learn.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like Saturday, I've said about young Dec many times in the show. I think he's a very talented kid, and I think he's got a bright future. But if you're going to play left back, don't care who you are. Don't get carried away with this modern day theory that all left backs just great going forward. You have to defend. Because when you come up against someone like a Nathan Dyer, he's going to make you defend. And if you don't defend well, he's going to expose you. Yeah? And if you look at the goal Saturday, Dec has the right line and the right position to begin with. But then what he tries to do, he's facing the wrong way. He's trying to let the ball go out for like a corner kick or a goal kick or to come across his body so he can clear away with his left foot. He should have been facing the other way so he can see the ball coming over his right shoulder and Nathan Dyer coming from his left. But regardless, if he's closed off and facing the ball, all he has to do is attack the ball then. Yeah? Just attack the ball. That's what I tell him and teach him. Just in that position, you're not sure. You know, sometimes you see that header at the back post with the defender, the left back or right back, puts it up for a throw-in or a corner, and everyone goes, oh, what are you doing? And he says, well, I couldn't see. No one was, you know, I didn't know whether the winger was there, so you take no chances. That is like so basic. That is like so basic. If you're playing at this level and you're a kid and you're a left back or a right back, you should have learned that when you were like 14, 15, 13, 14. Now, my problem is the kid is a left winger and has gone to left back. So clearly no one's teaching him the positional play of a left back. And that's where he needs to study the positional. Where I need to be. When the ball's over the defender, the centre back, where do I need to be? Because he's got caught out a couple of times on defensive.
Where do you go back? What's your back for tomorrow then? Where do you go with that then?
I go to Dewson's and I buy some bricks, mortar, and I start.
No, I mean really, what are you going? Are you going to do? You know, if say we're saying Theophile's not McNaughton. Right back?
I think
Fabio over to left back, maybe?
I can't believe that I'm having to say what I'm going against what I said earlier in the season. There's no room for sentiment for McNaughton. Actually, after Theophile, I think he's the best right back. It's as simple as that. And if Taylor's not playing,
well, he's not. He's out.
Who's out injured?
Surgery,
then I'd put him at left back. Because he's that, he is clearly a better defender for me than Fabio and Dec. So those two can't be ahead of McNaughton.
Yeah. So do they change the centre? I mean, we don't know anything about this Cala.
Again, here we go. We're saying on one sense we need a settled 11, and then we're saying
But where do you stand on Turner? I mean, because every time you look at the Cardiff defence, everyone goes he's had a lot of stick. Yeah. Crikey, blimey, Bonnie's goal. What's he doing?
Yeah, but I've said, you know, you've gone with Hudson in there, who's a bit calmer and a bit going to pass the ball.
Well, it's obvious, and then it's obvious that Solskjaer doesn't fancy Hudson.
Well, we don't know what.
Well, he gave him one game and then was like, nah.
Yeah.
Bring Turner back in, and he's stuck with that since. He brought Hudson. He obviously doesn't fancy Hudson. Seems obvious, right? Well, he would have kept him alongside Colker.
Yeah.
So it seems Hudson's out the picture.
So to me, there's not going to be a settled 11 for probably 3 more games.
Meanwhile.
And in 2 of those games, you've got Hull and Villa. And we keep saying Hull. Hull are flying. I don't know why we're looking at them as a relegation team. But they're like 4 wins. I think they're 4 wins away from safety.
I know, at home.
Crystal Palace, 4 or 5 wins away from safety.
You would fancy that.
You know what I mean?
So where do we go in then with this team tomorrow? McNaughton right back. You saying?
I would.
Colker. Cala. Cooking on gas,
Calla, oh.
cooking on gas, baby.
I don't know. I'd probably
Fabio.
No,
no.
Well, look at it. Look what you don't just look
man.
about what you're up against. Yeah, who are you up against? Benteke. What is he? All about strength and power. Is that the type of player that Turner's better against or worse against? Well, I would say better. Yeah, so tomorrow isn't the time to change my centre-back partnership.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
That's true.
Yeah. I would say up against and Benteke is not full of confidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So what full-backs do you want to go for?
Full-backs, I go...
I don't know to say... I don't know if has there been anything from the presser on Theophile?
If Theophile's fit, I go with him and McNaughton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go with, like I said, I don't think we're in a position right now where we can just go gun-ho going for it. I'd go with strength in the middle, and I'd stick with Medal and Gunnarsson.
Yeah.
And have Noon on the right, Bellamy or Zaha out wide. I'd go for Bellamy, but I doubt he'd be able to play so quickly back to back. So it'd have to be Zaha, and that worries me because I don't think he's match fit, and he's going to be very fatigued from the game also. So that's a position that's up for grabs, if you like.
Yeah.
But I play Bellamy. If not Bellamy, then Zaha. Much in behind. And well, looking at Villa, they're two centre backs, both quite big, both quite cumbersome. I'd probably go with Campbell. I think fresher. I think, one thing, Fraser gives you, he is like a jack in a box. He's continual pressure on the defenders. It's what they hate. I'd probably go with that and then say to Kenwyn, I'll bring you on last 15 minutes as, someone who's we're going to start hitting diags, crosses from the final third, Nooney, get lots of balls in and try and get a goal that way. So I'd almost switch my way of thinking from Swansea to Villa to give the fresher legs 70, 80 minutes again.
I mean, the interesting one there for me is, and we were both talking about it, is Gunnarsson, isn't it? I mean, he's become very marginalised, but we both really quite like.
We need a player.
He does bring that bit of strength.
You need those two centre backs and two centre midfielders at the moment. We need, first of all, we need to start just picking up points. So over the next 3 or 4 games, if we can not lose, and you pick up 1 win and 3 draws, okay, that's where the confidence starts to build. Yeah, you still believe in the players. No, it's not. But then it gives. What I'm saying is, you go into March then against the likes of Tottenham and Everton, feeling far more positive about trying to win those games. We got to draw against Everton. Am I right?
Yeah, 0-0.
Draw against Everton. So
it feels like a long time ago.
Yeah. But it's that's the way of thinking. It's not going to happen overnight. I think at the moment what we're thinking is, we'll win next game by playing this team. No? Okay, we'll win the next game by playing this team. You just got to start, we haven't got time on our side, 13 games, but you've got to be looking
but the funniest thing
to
is
say by 8 or 9 games, well, we haven't lost, we've lost 1 in 4.
We've been arguing for a settled side, and now we want to rip it up for Villa.
But we haven't had a settled side. And I wouldn't go with the side that played against Swansea.
Well, exactly.
So you have to make a change. That's my point.
No sign of any Norwegians in either of those.
Well, no, and I mean, apparently Solskjaer's been saying that this is when he unleashes his Norwegians tomorrow. So I don't know if that's that Dali or Ikram or...
Ikram's the centre midfielder then, yeah? So you could possibly say Medal alongside Ikram.
With much in front, was it?
With much in front. Yeah, but I haven't seen enough of Ikram to say, yeah, I'd play him, or no, I wouldn't play him. I haven't seen enough of any of them.
And what I have seen of Ikram, I mean, he looks a bit like...
Well, I see him in the Bolton game and he wasn't great in that
exactly.
game.
He didn't have a great game there.
But you can't judge on one match, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's our side.
And did you hear Theophile is fit, apparently? He's had knee issues, but he is now fine and is
right.
So I would go for Theophile at right back and McNaughton at left back.
Ahead of Fabio at left.
I wouldn't play Fabio.
No.
Tough signing.
I just say, sorry kid, but I can't afford to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You, like I say, you can't be sentimental.
It can't be too sentimental. You've only been here 5 minutes. Let's not get too sentimental.
Well, it's either you've been done twice by the same ball, same sort of mistake and haven't learned from it, or we've done nothing about it, not spoken about it, and it's been let go, and it's happened again very quickly. Because those are things that people now will target. When you come up against teams like Villa, who've got a lot of pace up front and out wide, they will target the ball inside you, definitely. Not so much Hull. Tottenham, they'll target it. Liverpool, they're just everywhere. They're like a swarm of bees.
They are at the minute.
Do you know what I mean? You know, it's okay thinking to yourself, oh, we got 13 games left and that's X amount of points. But trust me, you know, I got that relegation record. You know what I mean? I've been in and had the fight many a times and lost. Do you know what I mean? Come close many a times by a point, goal difference. You know, relegating on the last day of the season on goal difference. Sheffield United with 1 minute to go. Max Dean scores in like the 93rd minute. We're down, but we're being told by Wally Downs, we're okay. So we're all thinking, oh, it's okay. We walk in thinking, whew, that was close. And then it comes out, oh, actually Everton scored and this and that, and it's actually you're down. Yeah.
Hey, come on! At least we got a cup run to look forward to.
Indeed, at least you've got.
I'm trying to do some kind of positive. Don't forget the cup run.
Don't forget the cup. Yeah. Before we have your predictions, then I'll have a few comments.
I ain't predicting no more.
I ain't
predicting no more, man.
Ain't gonna play fool.
When your Villa will be chomping at the bit after watching the weekend's game, they want to get in and capitalise on Cardiff's fragile mindset. Shout out here from Steve Cowie, Don Cowie, to come in. We need legs and an engine in the midfield against Villa. Don is the man who fits the bill. More criticism of the sort of commitment, things like that. Frankie, maybe this is a nice one to push us towards a positive finish.
Me?
Sorry?
Does he remember me?
Who?
Frankie.
I think it's one of Blakey's jokes. He's only 15. We want to buy. You never remember that. I mean, I was a pop song.
It's just one of those 70s things.
It's one of us. Those of us were big in the 70s. I got it. Don't worry, Blakey. I got it. Don't leave.
Frankie, anyway, who says, this is the time we really need all the supporters to get behind Solskjaer and his team. We did lose the derby on Saturday, but we're not relegated yet. So
hey, listen, Frankie, I
totally
agree.
Why do you think I'm wearing this?
Because do you know what?
One of Blakey's old shirts.
It's the only way. To me, that's the only, not the only, but that's one of our biggest chances to stay in the league. Is once the fans turn and like they've had enough and they're not happy, you know, team already struggling with confidence and all that. Listen, it's edge of a cliff.
I know it's impossible, but if you could get the atmosphere tomorrow night, remember like it was against Man City?
Mate,
I know it was the first game, but if you could get
shout out to all Cardiff fans. Listen, it could come down to how you support the team. It could come down to the atmosphere you generate. You know, like I've said many times before, the atmosphere that used to be generated at an Indian Park could win or lose games. Simple as that. And I think like this season, the atmosphere against Man City especially won us the game. And if Cardiff fans, if there's ever a time
more
that
than
they
ever
need, it's now. And it's now to the end of the season. It's not just Villa. It's every home game. The away fans, they are, you know, it's well documented. They sing a lot. You know. Home fans, atmospheres this season has been incredible in some games. Now we're all just getting a bit weary of like being beaten all the time. Do you know what? If you say, if we're down, we're down. Let's go down fighting and singing and supporting the team. Do you know if that happens? As a player, I'm telling you, that helps raise my confidence. When I know I touch the ball and I make a mistake and that just depletes my confidence a little. You know, if I make a mistake and, you know, you can tell when fans just overlook it because it's almost like, oh, don't worry, it's kind of like a little ripple of applause.
Yeah, it's like, supportive, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know if that happens?
That's what's needed.
That is what gives us a great chance of staying in the league. Trust me.
Okay.
Good people got on your back when you made mistakes.
Oh,
bloody on your back all the time.
They did. I used to carry them.
All right, predictions there. 2-0 Villa.
2-0. Prediction? Oh, look, I'm going to stay. But like, we're just making a call to all the fans. Put the derby behind us. Put to bed. Done. Disappointing. back up for the Villa game now. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Cardiff win tomorrow, and a real confidence boost as then we embark on Saturday on our cup run. That's positive, right? That was it, okay?
That was real positive.
2-1, that was real positive.
I'm so positive you've spoken for both of us.
Is that it?
Do I have to make a prediction?
Oh, okay. Blakey, don't say anything dodgy.
I think my heart says Cardiff win. My head says Villa win, to be honest with you. I think Villa are all wrong for us. It's the pace, mate. The pace. I'm glad Catherine's back. And if McNaughton was playing, I'd think, well, pace thing, we got it sorted, both flanks. But if it's not, I don't know. I'll go for a Cardiff 1-0 win. How about that?
You left the cat out the bag a bit, though, by saying they're going to lose.
Well, no, listen, I just think it's a... Listen, we all know it's a 6, 9, 12 pointer. I just think you got to look at the opposition and think, well, where can they damage us? And where they are very good is Mbogla Hall, Benteke, Vyman.
Didn't do badly up at Villa Park. I thought somebody brought it up as a bad performance earlier. They were doing okay up there till a worldy, remember, free kick in the top corner.
Yeah,
so
it was a hell of a goal that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was beautiful. So they didn't do particularly badly, and I think.
I'm going to go with a Cardiff 1-0 win. A fighting, body on the line, blocks everywhere. That sort of. Villa probably 2 or 3 or 4 chances. Yeah, I'm going to go for even more desperate. Even more desperate defending than that. I'm going to go with well, just about.
Wow.
Just about. But we need it needs to happen. It
has to happen. This is it.
It has to happen because
this is crunch time now.
Confidence isn't going to be sky high.
That's why the fans.
Without confidence. The team without confidence, it doesn't matter what the manager or anyone says. Players say, oh yeah, we still believe. Listen, it's believing and there's truly believing. As simple as that. And without that belief, without that confidence, I think, it's inevitable, really. Because we're not going to stay up with a team without confidence, are we? Simple as that.
So that's everybody depressed then across the nation.
Well, now go out and win, innit?
Go out and win, support the team.
Go out and win,
and
next week we're on here saying, "Hey, listen, we're back in the game.
We're back in the game. We're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We're
in the hunt for Europe.
We're on our way. Well, look at Swansea now.
You go and beat Villa. You go and beat Wigan. Okay, it's the win against Wigan. Everyone says, "Oh, wish it was 3 points," but in the next round of the cup, it's positive. It's confidence building. It's good. I mean. It's the kind of game.
Let's think next week's boot room's going to be like a very positive show with the 3 points.
Rather than the Grim Reaper walking through.
Well, I was happy before. I was actually quite
jolly.
I was jolly. I was as jolly as I get now.
So when I walked in, you were head in the cup, like.
No, I'm tearful. I'm on the point of tears now. I feel like crying.
Well, listen, it's make no bones about it. It's going to be difficult. And Tuesday night is. Like I said, playing at home can be of detriment. It's going to be interesting
as well.
Do you know what I mean? If you're not confident, playing at home, like Villa are showing you at the moment, you just want to get away from your own ground. You want to play.
It's really interesting. The first Premier League evening game as well at Cardiff. Is it? I'm imagining. Yes, I think so. I mean, they played away at Stoke. You don't get many evening games. So under the floodlights could be a really good atmosphere, everyone turn up, full house and all that. It could be a really good. Could be a buzz about the place.
Indeed. Let's finish on that note. That was vaguely positive. Good stuff.
I finally found a positive in that.
So, all right, good stuff, chaps. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
I would have been happier.
Well, indeed. Big night tomorrow. All right, great stuff. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for all your comments and input. Hopefully you can lift yourselves from the slumber of this particular Monday morning. And as always, we'll be blogging live from that game tomorrow night. What'll be 7:45 kick-off, is it?
7:45,
7:45 kick-off, and then we'll be back next week for the latest edition of Blakey's Boot Room. See you next time. Ciao.